involves Caitlin Clark, the Department of Justice, and quite possibly the President of the United States himself. Somebody got to say it, so I'm going to say it. But the one thing I will not do is take credit for this. I am looking at the Wall Street Journal. The author of the article is a guy by the name of Sean McLean.
When the game turns ugly, Caitlin Clark finds herself at the center, battered, bruised, and seemingly targeted in ways that have sparked outrage across fans and analysts alike.
Is her right to a peaceful workplace, a non-hostile work environment, are those rights being violated?
When the game turns ugly, the WNBA may be forced to answer for it in ways no one expected. At the center of the storm is Caitlin Clark, the Indiana Fever's rookie phenom who has been battered, bruised, and seemingly targeted on the court. And now, there's talk that the U.S. Department of Justice, yes, under Donald Trump's leadership, could step into the WNBA's court with a potential civil rights case. In August 2025, the Washington Post dropped a bombshell report suggesting that Clark's treatment might warrant federal investigation. The article raised a question no one thought would reach this level. Could Clark's experiences be evidence of systemic bias in the WNBA? The numbers and incidents fueling the controversy are staggering. Clark, a white superstar in a league where 70% of players are black, has faced an unusual amount of physical punishment. Flagrant fouls have piled up at a rate unseen for a rookie guard, 7 in her first 20 games. For comparison, Breanna Stewart, one of the league's most physical forwards, drew only 3 flagrant fouls in the entire 2024 season. The incidents haven't been subtle. Kennedy Carter's hip check sent Clark to the floor before the ball was even in play, sparking viral outrage. Carter later dismissed her as soft, making it personal. Alyssa Thomas drilled Clark with a forearm shiver on a box-out, leaving her limping with a bruised knee. And in one of the most brutal moments, Ari McDonald's elbow split Clark's jaw, drawing blood and earning McDonald a flagrant 2 ejection. All this comes as Clark dominates the stat sheet, averaging 17.1 points, 8.2 assists, and 5.9 rebounds per game through August 2025, according to ESPN. She's been both electrifying and resilient, but the question is whether the league has failed to protect her. That's where civil rights law could come in. If Clark is being targeted not just as a star, but because of her race, it might fall under Title VI of the Civil Rights Act, which prohibits discrimination in federally funded programs. The WNBA, while privately operated, receives indirect federal funding through broadcast deals and sponsorships tied to public institutions. That technicality could make the league liable. And with Trump's DOJ known for pursuing high-profile discrimination cases, the idea of a civil rights lawsuit against the WNBA is no longer far-fetched. What began as debates over hard fouls may now escalate into a legal showdown that could change the league forever. Clark, visibly rattled yet unshaken in spirit, still poured in 22 points during the Fever's victory. But the physical toll kept mounting. In one striking sequence, Kelsey Plum delivered a bone-jarring screen that sent Clark sprawling to the floor. What fueled the controversy even more was Plum's post-game smirk. Social media erupted, fans dissecting the clip as proof of intent. The troubling reality is these aren't isolated hits. According to league tracking, Clark absorbs hard contact on 28% of her drives to the rim. For comparison, Aya Wilson, the reigning MVP, faces that level of contact only 15% of the time. The disparity is glaring. And just when it looked like things couldn't escalate further, late July brought another blow. Clark sprained her ankle, sidelining her for 2 games. Yet even injured, she returned to carry the Fever to a 6-2 August record, underlining a stark truth. The WNBA may need Clark's star power far more than she needs the league. Some fans even speculate she could bolt to an alternative platform, like Ice Cube's Big 3, and leave the WNBA scrambling for relevance. Now contrast this with the NBA. The men's game is physical, yes, but the refereeing standards are far stricter. In the 2024-25 season, NBA stars like Jason Tatum and Luka Doncic averaged fewer than 1 flagrant foul against them across 40 games, per NBA.com. The league has long prioritized star protection. LeBron James, for example, is famous for drawing whistles on minimal contact. Imagine Duke phenom Cooper Flagg, widely projected as the 2025 NBA Draft's top pick, taking Clark's kind of punishment. Impossible. Officials would blow the whistle long before it escalated. NBA rivalries like Bronny James versus Cooper Flagg will be about talent, not racially charged narratives. And that's exactly why critics call the WNBA's handling of Clark a joke. Nobody debates Michael Jordan's 6 championships and 5 MVPs through the lens of his race. His greatness stands on merit. So why is Clark's brilliance consistently overshadowed by personal and racial drama? Here's where the story takes a sharper edge. The Washington Post highlighted how social media amplified racial tension between Clark and Angel Reese. Reese stoked the rivalry in June 2025, labeling Clark overhyped. Online, the backlash intensified, with some accusing Clark of benefiting from white privilege, despite her numbers far outshining Reese's. The Post argued this toxic mix, unchecked officiating and racially charged narratives, creates a hostile environment that could fall under civil rights protections. And here's the twist: Trump's DOJ has precedent. In 2017, under Jeff Sessions, the department investigated Ivy League schools for anti-white bias. By 2020, Yale even revised its admissions policies following a DOJ lawsuit. That same legal framework could soon put the WNBA on notice. The WNBA's case could follow a script that no one saw coming. At the heart of it all lies Title VI of the Civil Rights Act, which prohibits discrimination on the basis of race, color, or national origin in programs receiving federal funds. Now, on paper, the WNBA might look safe as a privately run league. But the Washington Post dropped a twist that changes everything. The WNBA's broadcast contracts with ESPN, an outlet that partners with public universities to air college sports, could qualify as federal funding. And that one detail might be enough to open the door to government scrutiny. Here's the part that stuns even legal experts. If the DOJ finds systemic bias, say referees ignoring flagrant fouls against Caitlin Clark due to racial narratives, or even league pressure to downplay her star power, the WNBA could face real consequences. We're talking fines, sanctions, or mandated reforms. Legal scholar Jonathan Turley, quoted by the Post, put the odds of a DOJ probe at 60% if the Trump administration prioritizes the case in 2026. And how did the WNBA respond? With a vague, boilerplate statement about player safety, completely sidestepping the race question. That's why you'll want to stick around, because this is where it gets explosive. Why would players want to go after Caitlin Clark in the first place? The answer is simple: jealousy and disruption. The WNBA's TV ratings jumped 22% in 2025, according to Nielsen. Clark's games average 8.3 million viewers, nearly double the audience of games without her. She's not just a player, she's a marketing machine. Nike's Caitlin Clark branded shoe line is projected to gross $100 million by 2026. She is, without exaggeration, the face of the league. And yet, instead of protecting her, the WNBA seems to let her take a beating. Here's where Clark flips the script. Despite everything, the hard fouls, the bruises, even a late July sprained ankle that sidelined her for 2 games, she came back stronger. Clark led the Fever to a 6-2 August record, shattered the single-season assist record, and delivered Indiana's first playoff berth since 2016. The WNBA needs Clark's star power to compete with the NBA juggernaut. But by failing to shield her from targeted abuse, they risk alienating the very fans she brought in. And fans aren't blind. Viral clips show referees staring straight at flagrant elbows thrown at Clark, only to wave play on. One July 2025 game in particular set social media ablaze. A defender's elbow slammed into Clark's ribs. The ref locked eyes with the incident, and still, no whistle. Outrage poured in. The conversation had already shifted past basketball. It was now about fairness, accountability, and whether Clark was being left exposed for reasons beyond the game. Which brings us to the real heart of this story. This isn't just about Caitlin Clark. It's about whether sports leagues can allow personal and racial biases to shape how players are treated. The Clark-Reese rivalry mirrors larger societal divisions. Angel Reese's supporters argue she's been unfairly vilified. Clark's fans point to data showing she's disproportionately targeted. And both points may hold some truth. But the numbers don't lie. 7 flagrant fouls in 20 games, a 28% hard contact rate compared to Aya Wilson's 15%. That's a level of punishment the league has never allowed for any other rookie star. The Post even cited a 2023 University of Michigan study revealing that white athletes in predominantly black leagues endure higher rates of uncalled fouls. That pattern lines up disturbingly well with Clark's own experiences. So what happens if the DOJ takes this seriously? The fallout could reshape the WNBA. Stricter officiating, mandatory bias training, even public apologies could be forced onto the table. We've already seen powerful institutions like Harvard and Yale bend under DOJ pressure. The WNBA, a much smaller entity with fewer defenses, wouldn't stand a chance against a full federal probe. And then comes the twist that no one expected. Clark herself has refused to wade into the DOJ speculation or the race debate. At an August 10, 2025 post-game press conference, she calmly said, "I just play ball. The refs do their job, and I do mine." That grace under fire only magnifies her star power, making the WNBA's inaction look even more damaging. So, where does this end? If the DOJ steps in, the WNBA's next season could look very different. What began as hard fouls and social media drama could evolve into a landmark case about fairness, accountability, and bias in American sports. Because Caitlin Clark's story isn't just about basketball anymore. It's about power, race, and whether the league can survive after letting its brightest star take a beating.